Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have with me Mike. Nice to have you back, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, sir, and good morning to our viewers out there.
Well, the African Games is come and gone, and Egyptians are in cloud nine, haven't come first, not just coming first, but making history as the first country to record as many as 100+1 gold medals at the Games.
Record breaking for the Egyptians. They've actually set a mark or carved a niche for themselves when you talk about the All-African game. I think they've won it more times than any other country. I think it clearly tells you how far they've gone in the area of their sport development as well. So for me, I think them, toppling the medals log, I think it's not by fluke. Neither is it by accident. They actually worked for this, and they are just reaping the result of the hard work they've actually put in time past before now to ensure that there's an even development of sports generally from all angles, and not just focusing on one particular area of sport development, but they've taken it holistically. And that's why, indeed just concluded the African game out there in Ghana. They were able to participate in all of the sporting activity out there, unlike Nigeria, that we just took part in 25 out of 30 or 32 different sporting arenas. So for me, I think it's a landmark achievement for the Egyptians.
Landmark achievement for the Egyptians at the African Games, and while it is a landmark achievement for the Egyptians at the Games, it's been an improvement on what we saw last time around with Team Nigeria. It became second, no doubt about it, but there was improvement on the number of gold medal for Nigeria. We had about 47 gold medal.
Yeah, a step, to what we, achieved last time out. Last time I actually won a 46 gold medal, but this year we actually added one gold medal to beat up the last time, record. So for me, I think it's a nice one. But then, looking at, our performance, coming second is good, but then, is it good enough for us to always, be playing the second fiddle against, the Egyptians or the rest of the North African team? I think for me, it's not good enough. We must as well, do well also to improve, our sporting, arena, so that we can be able to match up with the likes of the Egyptians. Look at the gold, or medal disparity between the Egyptians who came first and Nigeria. They amassed a total of 101 gold medals, contrary to what we have, which is 47. So if you look at this disparity, it clearly tells you there is a whole lot of work that we need to do if we must also, bridge the gap between the Egyptian and the Nigerian when it has to do with the All-African game. Like I said, coming second is good, but then looking at it on a whole, did we actually get our target of trying to, get closer to the Egyptian who, lead the log with 101 gold medals, contrary to 47 that we have? I think for me, it's too poor. We need to also go back to the grassroots and begin to fine-tune or find a way to be able to develop our sport generally, so that whenever we get for the Olympic game, the All-African game, the Commonwealth game, we'll definitely be sure that indeed we're going to come out with flying colors.
Definitely Nigeria will come out with flying colors. And any financial reward for the Team Nigeria contingent?
Yeah, definitely. From the investigation, they actually place different prize money for gold medal, silver, and bronze medal as well. So for me, there is a prize reward for that for Team Nigeria. They're just the only cricket team that they were raising an alarm or eyebrow 2 days ago because of the fact that the sport ministry provided no fund for them. They nearly not took part in this All-African game, but then the federation itself had to rally around at the dying minute of the the preparation to ensure that they take the contingent out. And of course, they went there and won bronze medal. So they were making a case for themselves to be part and parcel of the monetary reward, because initially the sport ministry did not actually provide fund or for logistics for them to go for this one. So they were raising their alarm whether they will be included as part of those who is going to get this monetary reward. But in all, there is also a heavy monetary reward for the Nigerian contingent.
Talking about monetary reward, is $3,000 for gold medalists in individual event, and it is $2,000 for silver and 1,000 for medalists. And for the group event, it is $5,000 for the gold medalists and 3,000 for silver medalists in group events and 1,500 for bronze medalists at the group event. The coaches as well had financial rewards that are healthy, and I think they won't complain about it. Let's hope that the Cricket Association will have been taken care of in the process of things here, following the aftermath of their complaints at the African Games. Let's look at individual performances at the Games. Toby Amoso, we had Chidi Okezie, Blessing Oboro Dudu, Odukoye, Odukoroye, Adunayo Odukoroye, and the rest. Which of the Nigerian athletes really caught your attention at the Games?
For me, I think I'm taking a look at no other name than our shining light in the person of Toby Amosun. I think defending the title she won last time out, I think she did that in a glorious way, hitting a hat trick. She did that in 2015, replicated the same feat in 2019, and again, becoming the first African woman to do this, a hat trick. I think for me, that was very, very massive for, her. Though looking at the timing of her return, I was actually not impressed. Returning a time of 12.89 seconds, I was like asking myself, what if we get to the Olympic and she got to meet the likes of the Camacho Queens of this world, Tia Jones of this world. Looking at that timing, I was not too comfortable about it. She truly need to improve on her timing, but then I think she's the one that caught my fancy, not ruling away other new entrant as well, who was making their first appearance for the colors of Nigeria in an international debut, won 1 or 2 gold medals out there. So for me, I think generally when you talk about the athletics, I think Nigerians, they actually did us proud in that area.
Nigerians did us proud at the Games, especially in athletics, but for me, wrestling, we held as we returned as many as 32 medals as compared to athletics in 22, should be given special commendation at the Games.
Definitely, I truly agree with you. I listened to this to Daniel Igali the other day when he was talking about the exploits of the wrestlers and the need for a reward for this wrestler. I totally agree with him. And of course, for me, they actually did us proud out there. And if we actually have other federation doing what the wrestling federation is doing, I tell you, our sport will definitely go places distance time, because within the short period that Daniel Igali have assumed the aim of affair, I think we've seen a different changes from what we used to see in the past. Now we see proper planning, proper implementation of ideas, proper camping, and all of this. So for me, I think they truly deserve to be rewarded for what they have actually achieved for Nigerian contingent going forward.
Well, we have wrestling as the most, fetching the sports discipline, medals fetching sports discipline at the African Games, followed by athletics and boxing. Arm wrestling as well, returning as many as 13 medals. This is very cheering.
Very cheering indeed, and this is one area of sport that most time we don't even appreciate the arm wrestlers as much as we should. Because many times, after going out there to do us proud, when they come back, they will fail to reward them adequately. So for me, I think they deserve a commendation, and not just commendation or even a presidential handshake and all of that. They truly deserve monetary reward.
As we speak, and coming second at the African Games. Quickly, let's see, volleyball is one area, beach volleyball to be specific, is one area where a lot of attention has been focused because of their continental feats, but now we understand, following the release of the latest ranking, in fact, the final ranking of the men's beach volleyball event, the Team Nigeria, the African Games, came distant 12th position.
Not impressed at all for me. I think I'm not totally impressed with us coming 12th. We truly need to do more. in that regard, because if we want to get to
Beach volleyball is not a very popular sport here in Nigeria.
yeah, you may want to say, and this is because we don't want to make it popular. It's relatively unknown sport, but then if we want to make it popular, we can. Who say we cannot? Because if we get to the Olympic Commonwealth game, definitely we must take part in this kind of a sport out there. So we don't wait until it become popular before we pay proper attention in area of trying to develop the infrastructures or the players as well. So for me, the fact that it's not popular is not a yardstick that we must not do well. We must also take it as a point of duty. If it is one of the sporting activity that is enshrined within about 32 sporting federating units that we have here in the country, then there is need for us to pay attention to it, and to also ensure that we get to the apex, that where we can be able to square shoulder to shoulder with the other world out there who are known for for it. So for me, I think we should do more. We should do more in that regard.
We need to do more, especially in beach volleyball. There should be a comprehensive review of Team Nigeria's participation at the games, and I'm hoping that the Sports Ministry will do that and, of course, see how to improve on this. We have just another 3 years or thereabout for the next game coming up, and we hope that we'll do everything possible to ensuring that I return to Morocco for the next African Games. We'll see Nigeria improve better on the medals table. We are now perennial second-place teams.
Yeah, perennial second-place team, and that is what I said earlier, that we truly need to do more. We can't be playing the catch-up games, every year, where the All-African game is being hosted in any country here in Africa. We are playing the catch-up game. I think we need to do more, because we've come a long way as a giant of Africa. Though no doubt we are the second most successful country in the when you talk about the All-African game, but then it's not good enough that we must always play the second fiddle against the Egyptians and the rest of it. We truly need to improve, to hit our peak, so that possibly we topple the table and become first. It's not a bad thing if we go out there and become first. As a giant of Africa, we should also demonstrate that in the areas of sports, and not just a giant of Africa for or the mere sake of calling it, or because of the population that we have. If we actually have this population, why not? We can do it. I was listening to a certain Ghanaian TV where they were trying to throw a tantrum against Nigeria. Of course, the rivalry between us. They say that they have lesser population compared to what Nigeria had, and they came sixth, at the All-African game. They were trying to, put side by side the medal that they won and their athlete that came to represent them and all of that. So for me, I was very embarrassed that a country such as Ghana, that boasts less population compared to what we have, they are coming to throw tantrums or banter against, the heavyweight of Africa, talking about Nigeria, who is a giant of Africa. So for me, I think it's a call that indeed we need to improve a lot in the area of sport. If we truly want to replicate the name giant of Africa, we must do that in all strata.
All strata needs a complete review, and we hope that these advices are being taken. Just before we get out of the African Games, something happened, which is spectacular in the 59-year history of the African Games. We've never seen a country, win both the male and football gold medal. That's exactly what the host nation Ghana did, winning both the male and female football medal at the Games.
Record-breaking for them. I think it was an impressive one. Actually, in the female category, I think I expected Nigeria to get the better of...
Nigeria's always won the African gold at the Games.
Yeah, but this time around, I think with Christopher Danjuma-led side, looking at the way they were able to progress through the group stage, many Nigerians tipped them to go for the gold in that very one. Winning our first 3 games, scoring 8 goals, conceding none, heading into the final against the Ghanaians. I think the odd was in the favor of Nigerian, the Falconers, to clinch the gold in that very one. But in football, it is not the way you think it's going to be, so we had to lose that way. I think it's a big motivation for the Ghanaians, despite not finishing very strong on the medal slug, but then they were able to carve a niche for themselves in the area of football.
Ghanaians were doing so well, and we're looking at major highlights at the African Games. One major highlight had to do with a Nigerian athlete at the Games, especially in the 4x100 meters relay event, where at a nearby event venue, the Nigerian national anthem was being played, at the javelin, the event venue, and at the same time, the 400 by 100 meters relay event was to take off, and surprisingly, the Nigerian athlete involved in the 4 by 100 meters relay had to stand up from the set position, to recite the national anthem and be part of the national anthem. After singing the national anthem before the games were let off, that looks very patriotic, and sometimes too, you want to think, what if the organizers had
disqualified,
not disqualified him, but at least taken off the race? This would have been some preparations, but here there was so much to learn from this. What do the organizers of the game, not just the organizers, especially the government of Nigeria, learn from this one?
A lot to learn from this one, because that we were not punished for this very one doesn't mean that it is right. We must also be very, very time conscious. You can't actually start playing the national anthem when a race is about to take place. So it means that...
But the national anthem was being played at a nearby venue for, for the award ceremony of the javelin event. It had nothing to do with the takeoff. But the Nigerian athlete was just patriotic enough to respond to the national anthem. And one would think that every other Nigerian should be, they're sensitive to the national anthem, and not just the anthem itself, but the rendition, not just the rendition, but the wordings of the national anthem.
Yeah, I think for me that's a sign of patriotism there. But then I think we must always do well to align ourselves with the proper planning. There are time that is allocated to these things and various things. You can't actually leave the timing when you were about to be on stage just because you want to recite the national anthem. But then that was an act of patriotism, and we must as well also commend the organizers for not ruling off that race, because there are some instances that alone can actually make her not to take part in that very one. But then I think I want to also thank the organizers for also putting that into consideration, because it has to do with patriotism of a nation. Display
of patriotism far away Ghana by a Nigerian athlete there, and I think it sent a lot of message to Nigerians, and of course both in and out in diaspora, and of course to the rest of the world as well. The African Games is come and gone for 2023 and 2024. Next stop is in Morocco, and the sports minister is charging the sports authorities here, administrators, to get cracking for the next sports African Games.
Yes, of course, preparation for the next African Games should actually start by now, and not just wait until possibly maybe we are a few months away from the All-African Game. That is where we begin to, start preparation, because most time, we are good with this fire brigade approach, that we sit back and relax whenever it is just a few days or few months, few weeks before a major competition. That is when we begin to rally around to be able to gather men and women who can also go out and do us proud. So for me, I think preparation should start immediately, because after a total appraisal of what Team Nigeria did this year, then the next thing that will follow suit is preparation for next edition of the All-African Game. And if we actually start preparation in earnest, it helps us to focus in different sporting areas, which will give us strength as well. This is what the Egyptians do. They don't wait until possibly a week or even a month before the start of the next All-African Game before they start preparing. No, and that is where we are not getting it right. Preparation should start immediately after the appraisals of Team Nigeria performance, so that we can possibly, yes, carve out our own plan and prepare very well, hoping to go there and make a very strong statement, not to go out there and play second fiddle again. Because if we had started preparation earlier before now, 3 years down the line before now, I tell you, we should have done better compared to what we did this year.
Team Nigeria also start preparation immediately after appraisal of what happened in Ghana. And I think that's what happens a lot of time. Nigeria, we said before, our perennial second place teams. The only time Nigeria did, come first on the African medals table was when Nigeria hosted, I think, 2003 in Abuja. And thereafter, we will not be able to, come first. But if you start early to prepare and know where you can rake in the medals, I'm very sure we can return to the summit of the African Games again. From here, we'll take a break now. When we return from the break, we'll look at what has happened in the world of marathon. Of course, you're aware that The Australian Open in Formula One, it just come and gone. And for football, a lot has happened too. Brazil going to England to beat the Three Lions of England. That is a feat by a 17-year-old. When we return for a break, we'll let you know the details of that, especially Football League as well. Who match the 28 fixtures showed at least 2 teams that's winning away. Which are the teams? When we return from the break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch. People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their mind.
So no agreement with the EU, but
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. And having known that the African Games is over at the weekend, with Nigeria coming second, but we've had some spectacular performances from Team Nigeria. Overall, there was an improvement in terms of the number of gold medals won by Nigeria, but a return of 120 medals overall wasn't a bad outing for Team Nigeria at the end of the day. First, now let's look at wrestling, and we said earlier that wrestling returned most medals at the African Games, 32, but some of these had to do with the Olympic qualifiers. We saw 6 female wrestlers already qualifying, or 5 of them qualifying at the Games, but now we know of a male, Mutawa, who is an American, but born American, but changes his nationality to wrestle for Nigeria. This change has seen him now qualify to be part of the Olympic Games in Paris next year. He won his opponent at the weekend to qualify for the Olympic Games.
I think it's a good news for Nigeria, a good news for us. Having seen that he has changed his nationality, I think for me it's a great thing. We must also do our own part of it, because many times when some of these athletes who are eligible to represent other countries, but despite the challenges, they still turn down other countries that have better facilities, have better care for their athletes. They turn them down to come and represent their fatherland, which is Nigeria. I think it behoves on us as a federation as well to also treat these people, in a way that at least they will not regret why they had to dump other countries just to represent their fatherland. I think it's a good one for us.
American-born Plateau State wrestler Mutua, who displayed a very spirited effort, overpowered South African Justin Van Zyl in a 16-8 pinfall to secure the Olympic slot, and he will be going to the Paris Olympic Games for the first time, and of course representing Nigeria as well. It wasn't very good news for Nigerian Harrison Omowrio, who in the 86 kg missed out on an Olympic slot to Australian Jaden Lawrence after losing 4 points in the criteria decision. A lot was expected from the male wrestlers, given that 5 females had qualified for the Olympic Games. Now it is just one that was able to escape yesterday evening when we saw most of the wrestlers dropping at the semi-final stage of the competition.
Not a good one, because for me I actually expected at least 3 or even 4 of the wrestlers to
male wrestlers?
Yes, the male wrestlers to make it through to the Olympic by clinching one of the tickets, but it wasn't to be, as most of them actually failed to pick one of the tickets, but we just have one person who made it through. I think for me, we need to improve on our international outing so that we can be rated among the best. We don't just dominate here in Africa. When you get to the world scene, when it matters most, we just falter. I think for me it's a disappointing one, but then it is also a call that indeed we need to improve a lot in that regard.
Wrestling, one area in Nigerian sports where we have a lot of hopes and high aspirations. Let's see, with 5 female wrestlers qualifying for Olympic Games in Paris in the next few weeks, we've now had a male as well qualifying to join them to go to the Olympic Games. We wish them the very best of preparations ahead of the Olympic Games. Let's go to boxing now. In boxing, the much talked about fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury is being touted to showcase in the year 2025. Is this possible? Saudi Arabia, we are told again, is now the maker of boxing, will host this one.
Yeah, it's possible, but then Tyson Fury must get past Alexander Usyk in this, mandatory challenge, big bout that they will be having this year. And of course, that is the reason why the promoter out there was speaking yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, that indeed they are looking at 2025. Why? Because Tyson Fury will be very, very occupied for this year, and because of that, he will not be available to take on Anthony Joshua. But then 2025, let's see if 2 of them can continue to maintain their form. Then that fight will be one that many boxing fans all over the world will want to see, because in time past we've actually craved to see these 2 on the ring. But then Tyson Fury keeps shifting it, all his delaying tactics out there and all of that. But then I think for me it's going to be a reality only if Tyson Fury can continue to maintain a fine form and Joshua as well will continue to maintain his fight form come this year. Then 2025, everything is possible. Just like Tyson Fury himself said a few days ago that he's ready to take on anyone so long as the money is there, because he's one man that doesn't joke with money. You know, he always wants to have a large chunk of the money. So for me, I think it's very feasible come 2025, but then they must maintain their standard to be able to continue to build up to that big hype come 2025.
Well, let's hope that they will just continue to maintain their tempo ahead of the 2025 clash in Saudi Arabia. I understand over $100 million is involved in this fight.
Yeah, a very big, you know, amount of money, mouth-watering, you want to say, and that is why I said earlier that Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, he always want to, you know, take a fight when, you know, a heavy amount of money is involved. This is his tactics. He always want to delay. If it's not money, then he count him out. He even made that, you know, earlier, £100 million as up for take. I think it's a very, very massive one. And if this fight sees the lights, you know, at the end of the tunnel, then I tell you there's going to be a rematch for anybody that wins this one. Definitely one person want to call for a rematch because a heavy amount of money is involved in this very one.
Well, let's now go to basketball. And talking about basketball reminds me that the Basketball League Africa Sahara Conference comes up in the next few weeks from now. This is a group where we have our own Rivers United, and Rivers United in that group,
Rivers
Hoopers, in that group I have the APRO of Rwanda as well in the group, and the APRO has been able to show their intention in a match against Etihad by beating them in a win. This is cheering APRO Basketball Club of Rwanda, you know, winning 77-76 against Egyptian Etihad in Alexandria.
I think for me, they have started showing, you know, the sign. They have started, you know, pointing a warning finger against, you know, Rivers Hoopers in this very one. Winning on a very slim margin, I think, is a good one. Morale booster for them out there. But then, I think Rivers Hoopers, they've not been resting on their odd as well. Don't forget, this season as well, they've also, you know, been able to acquire 3 different players to add into their ranks, and these are experienced players that they've also gotten, you know, to add to the quality of what they have. So for me, I think they are very, very prepared, knowing fully well they are going to meet some of the best team in the world of basketball in Africa here. So for me, they are not resting on their own. I saw their preparation. I listened to the coach the other day when he was talking about, you know, on a sister station where he was being interviewed. He talked about their preparation, their awareness, and the team, the opponent that they are going to meet out there. So for me, I think it's a good preparation for them. But then I think Rivers Hoopers, they are equal to the task because they are not sleeping as well.
We're talking about preparations. APR of Rwanda have its return leg of fixture of this one coming up, I think, on in the next few days, and before they move up to the Sahara Conference that features Tunisia's US Monastir. Of course, there is the Senegalese side, AS Douanes as well, and Rivers Hoopers. This promises to be a very tough group. We understand hostilities will begin from the 4th of May to the 12th of May in Dakar, Senegal. The Sahara Conference is upon us here, and wish Rivers Hoopers the very best of luck. But talking about basketball, early hours of this morning, we saw Milwaukee Bucks beat Oklahoma Thunders by 145 points to 93. Thunders could not rake in up to 100 points in this fixture. Milwaukee Bucks, Gianni Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, returning after, you know, a very not impressive outing last week, but then Gianni Antetokounmpo is able to shoulder the burden of Milwaukee Bucks this time around. I think Milwaukee Bucks have actually dropped in the standard of what we saw at the beginning of the season, but it looks as though as the curtain try to fall, they are beginning to gain back their mojo. An impressive victory, looking at the point margin, 145 points against 90-something. I think it was a total dominance. Thanks to no other person than Gianni Antetokounmpo, who also, you know, put up a very massive figure out there.
What's happening to Golden State Warriors? It was 114 points to 110 against Timberwolves. The Timberwolves beating the Golden State Warriors in this fixture. This were former champions in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm very, very shocked. You know, just like the way their fans as well were very, very disappointed. I saw the faces of their fans immediately after that game. They were not too impressed. Even one of the kids out there tried to talk to one of the players out there, telling them that he was not impressed. And for me, I think it's the height of their frustration. This is, but then I do not actually expect Golden State Warriors to go down that way. I expected them to fight in all front. Looking at their form so far in the last 8 games that they've played, you know, so for me, I think it's a disappointing result for them.
Did you expect the LA Lakers to beat Indiana Pacers by 150 points to 145?
That is another keenly contested encounter, mouth-watering game out there, but then I didn't expect that result. But congratulations to them. They are actually pushing themselves, you know, to the end of this season.
Well, let's stay away from basketball now and go to Formula One, where a lot of Formula One fans did not expect, you know, Carlos Sainz of Ferrari to defeat, do I say, Max Verstappen in that race at the Australian Open. A lot of, in fact, with the fact that, what is his name now, Max Verstappen was going to like return back to back. But we saw someone who just came from hospital after just 2 weeks of appendectomy, you know, coming to win for Ferrari. Talking about Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, not shocking for me, in the sense that something actually transpired that led to Max Verstappen, you know, dropping, you know, after the 4th laps because of he complained about his brakes and all of that, so he couldn't continue with the race, and that is why Carlos Sainz had to also, you know, take advantage of that. If you know, Max Verstappen of the Red Bull, he had no issue with his brake and all of that. I do not think that Carlos Sainz would have the better of him out there. But then I think this is part and parcel of the game. Whether you had a tire issue or your brake pulled out, he was talking about the caliber being away from the brake and all of that. So I think that is what gave Carlos Sainz the edge to, you know, overcome Max Verstappen. But then some persons as well is trying to make reference to the off-circuit controversies that have actually rocked them this season. But then for me, I do not think that the off-circuit controversy has anything to do with this one. We saw the off-circuit controversy before the last game, before this very one. But he went there, put that behind him, and actually came out victorious. So for me, I think it just boiled down to the, you know, the brake that fell. That is what gave Carlos Sainz, you know, the upper hand. There are other controversies as well, or other setbacks, you know, that happens in the game, which time may not even permit us to dip into it. But congratulations to him. He did a nice job.
Well, congratulations to Carlos Sainz, the man who just came from hospital 2 weeks ago to winning the Australian Open at the in Formula One. Besides Carlos Sainz, the second driver, Charles Leclerc, was in second place position, and thereafter we had the 2 drivers of McLaren in the 3rd and the 4th position as well.
Yeah, a great one there. I think he saw the excitement immediately after the race from them. A great finish for them there. I think for me, if they can actually keep up with this momentum, you know, they will actually do something very, very great, because heading into this race, nobody actually gave them the chance to come this far, but then they were able to go out there and make a mark for themselves. Let's hope that they can continue with this pace, because if you are giving the Red Bull and Max Verstappen this latitude of time and chance to be dominated, it makes the Formula One very boring. So many persons will not be interested, because they will just know that it is Max Verstappen won and it's going to be one-way traffic. But then when we are beginning to see new faces as well, you know, bridging this gap, it makes Formula One fans out there to sit on the edge of their seat, not expecting the usual thing, but expecting a different thing. So for me, this is the spices and the variety that Formula One fans want to see out there, other than one-sided, you know, dominance of Red Bull and Max Verstappen. What
could be responsible for Mercedes drivers not being between the first 10 at the end of Australian Open?
I think for me, the engine still is a problem out there, and that is why they have actually struggled so far this season. You listen to their chief principal the other day, last week, talking about their engine, the upgrade and all of that. They were helping to add 1 or 2 things, you know, but then I asked myself, why didn't they do this before the start of the season? So I think it's no other thing that their engine, they need to, you know, do a total overhaul and do some, you know, changes out there to ensure that they keep up with the pace, of what Red Bull bring into the table.
Well, the aerodynamics of Mercedes vehicles, cars, are being responsible for the poor outing by their drivers. We hope they will bounce back soon. Let's go to tennis now. And talking about tennis, the Miami Open is the biggest tennis event around the world now. And Coco Gauff, the American, is continuing at the crucial stage into the last 16 at the Miami Open.
Very impressive display from her. Coming back from that first set down where she was down by 4-2, coming back very strong to fight and get the win out there was an impressive display from Coco Gauff. Let's hope that she's going to continue in this tempo, going forward.
Interesting display from a 20-year-old American, aftermath of, struggle at the Australian Open.
Yeah.
She's pushing on now and hoping to see how far she can go. She's expected to face Caroline Garcia, another tricky player from France.
Very tricky player from France. Caroline Garcia, we know of her quality, what she brings to the table. And for me, this is going to be one of the biggest games that I expect to see. But then, looking at her display, the way she was able to come back, talking about Coco Gauff, the way she came back into that yesterday's game, I think for me, I truly expect her to give a good account of herself, against Carolina Garcia.
Jessica Pegula beat Canadian Lena Fernandez 7-5, 6-4 to set up a meeting with against Emma Navarro.
Very impressive one, but then I expected her to go through because looking at the opponent out there, it wasn't a match for Pegula out there. But then I think in her next game, she's definitely going to meet up with a very stiff opposition. That is where we are going to know whether she won this one by luck or by fluke.
Well, it couldn't be fluke, and let's see luck as well. Some little bit of hard work there. Meanwhile, Victoria Azarenka is in this mix at the 16, round of 16 as well.
Yeah, impressive one for Azarenka. The form of Azarenka has been in question over the past couple of months right now, but then I think she's trying to revive back her career to get back to that, high height where her name come back to become a household name in the world of tennis out there. I think I'm very, very impressed to see some of these big names making it through to the round of 16.
Let's see what's happening in the ATP at the Miami Open, and latest report has it that Andy Murray, a British hopeful, has suffered a dramatic 3-set defeat by Thomas Manchak.
Yeah, a very disappointing one for Andy Murray. Of course, for Manchak, is a very talented player out there. He was speaking, he said that he had to go back and watch some of the clips of Andy Murray to see if he can be able to catch up with him, and that is what he actually did. I believe going through the clips of Andy Murray in the past actually helps him to get a better of Andy Murray, but for me, I think it's a disappointing one for Andy Murray.
What happened to Yannick Sinner? He's been involved as well.
Yeah, been involved as well. I think for me, I didn't actually pay a close look at that game to actually see what actually transpired in that very game.
Well, he was able to triumph against the Netherlands Talon Crespo before he recovered to win 5-7, 7-5, 6-1. He lost the very first set, talking about Yannick Sinner, but he tried out in the second 7-5, 6-1. You would have been very shocking if an unknown name from the Netherlands had taken out Yannick Sinner, who, of course, we know to be Olympic champion, and, of course, had a very good start to the year. He only suffered a defeat at his 20th match in year 2024. Yeah,
impressive for him. I think it would have been a shock if he was defeated. But then, looking at the way he was able to bounce back, it tells you that hunger is still there for him. And I think I would say congratulations. But then he needs to improve on his game. Looking at the scare that he passed through, he nearly lost that very one. But then bounced back very well. Let's hope that he can continue to improve heading into the next round.
Let's now go to football, and talking about football reminds me that the Nigerian Premier Football League is into match day 27, or match day 27 matches have been concluded. And the highlight is the fact that Aqua United travel all the way to Jos to beat Plateau United 2-1. This is a rare away victory for Plateau United.
Very, very shocking for me. Aqua United, one of the struggling teams so far. Aqua United, Heartland, these are the teams struggling there this season, both home and away. They've actually struggled. So for me, I didn't actually give Aqua United any chance to go out there and get all 3 points against a league contender. Plateau is also contending for the league out there. But then, looking at the way the match went, Aqua United had to get that winning goal at the nick of time, 90 minutes plus. I think it was a good display for them. And it tells you that there's a whole lot of improvement in the NPFL, this season, because these are things that you rarely see in the past. A away team getting a 9-minute goal at the nick of time. I think for me, if it were what we used to have in the past, this is where you see crowd violence, because then the home fans would definitely want to encroach into the pitch of play to molest the referee, match officials, and the rest. But then we didn't hear of any such result. I think for me, it was a big win for Aqua United. And courtesy of that win, they've actually moved closer away from the relegation line where they were seated right now. I think it's a big win for them.
Big win for Aqua United. Equally a bigger win for Rangers International. They went to beat Heartland FC by 2-1. Oriental Derby crashing on the part of Heartland. For Rangers, it is one more statement for continental ticket next season.
Yes, and looking at the way that Rangers is going about it, I think you can beat your chest and say, yes, they are in mix for continental ticket. Looking at their game so far, in the last 9 games that Rangers have played, they have not lost any of these 9 games. It tells you how they have come this season. And because of that victory, they are now topping the table out there. For me, I think they've done an impressive job. And against Heartland side, who is also struggling under Christian Obis, a disappointing one for Heartland. I don't know what seems to be the problem of Heartland this season, but then I think Rangers is a good result for them.
Quora United beat Eyimba International by 2-1, and a lot of people did not expect this result, but Eyimba, maybe the absence of their head coach, Finidi Georgia, will be in action today against Mali, could be responsible for this one.
Maybe, just maybe, but then we saw when Finidi George was on international duty for the AFCON out there, his second out there actually put up a good and impressive show for himself. But it's just that maybe the day is not your day. It wasn't a good day in office for Enyimba. That is what happened. Not because of the assistant coach was not good enough, but then if it is not your day, it is not your day, and that is what happened to Enyimba.
At Ikene, it was Remo Stars that emerged victorious, courtesy of the 2 goals of their boots against Insurance of Benin.
Impressive one for them out there. I think playing at home, it gave them that confidence. I actually watched the clip of that game. I saw a handful of fans out there coming to cheer them to victory, and that is what you get when you see the 12th man standing behind you, cheering you to victory.
Former league champions Kano Pillars beat Sporting Lagos by 1-0. Then the encounter between Doma United and Gombe United, both of them who play at the Pantame Stadium, ended 1-1. Today, we should see action against Niger Tornadoes, against Shooting Stars, and it promises to be thrilling. Talking about today reminds me that the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be in action against Mali in yet another international friendly, aftermath of winning the Ghana 2-1 just about 48 hours ago.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another test for Finidi George to see what he can be able to do. We saw the first game against Ghana where he was fully in charge. We saw some of the changes. We saw some of the pattern of play have actually differed from what we saw from Joseph Pissarro. So for me, I think it's going to build on the fine form, because we saw more of attacking display against Ghanaians. They had lots of opportunities, lots of chances. So I think today's game is going to also, give him the opportunity to be able to showcase what he can do.
The Malians are earlier beating Mauritania, if you remember.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's going to be a very good test for Finidi George to also stake a claim on the person that is going to take over the job of the Super Eagles, because we hear some names have also been rolled out there as favorite for the job. But then, if he get to do well in these 2 games, possibly they might look on his side.
Very well, Brazil had beaten England at the Wembley. At the end of the international friendly at the weekend, we saw Brazil's 17-year-old Endick scoring in the 80th minute to give Brazil a win over the 3 Lions of England at the famous Wembley Stadium. Impressive
one for the Brazilians out there. Heading into that game, many bookmakers, many pundits out there actually tipped the England to at least get a bit of Brazil, looking at how Brazil is trying to rebuild, because this is not the Brazil people used to know, because of the way they've actually gone down the pecking order. They've actually lost 3 straight games so far, so nobody gave them a chance. But then Brazil, being what they are, the Samba boys, they came to the party, they dictated the pace right from the blast of the whistle, thanks to that 17-year-old who came to break a record. And courtesy of that victory from Brazil at the Wembley, he became the first player, at such tender age to score a goal at Wembley. 17 years, 286 days. So for me, it also desecrated Wembley, because in the last 21 games that England have played, they have not lost out there. This is their first, loss that the Brazilians actually inflicted to them. And courtesy of that young lad talking about Henrik, who also have been signed by Real Madrid.
Well, Hendrik become the very first male player to score, the youngest male player to score at the Wembley Stadium at the age of 17, 246 days, 17 years, 246 days. And I'm very sure that we're happy about that record, being the youngest male player to score a goal at the men's international at the Wembley Stadium. Well, we have to wrap up the show and talk about records at the weekend. We saw the fastest goal scored in the men's international game at the weekend. Austria's Christoph scored in the 6th second of that encounter, to erase the record set by Lukas Podolski of Germany, who scored in the 7th second. So that 6th second goal against Slovakia now has entered into the history books, subject to ratification, as the fastest goal scored in the main international friendly.
Impressive one, and I think it's a big record. If this one get to be rectified and the record start, I think it's going to be a very big one. After Lukas Podolski of Germany has held on to that record for quite a long time, we are seeing a new gem coming to break that record. I think it's an impressive one. And
that will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. Definitely we'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, when we'll take a detailed look at what to expect within the week. Of course, a return of football in the top Premier League, top leagues around Europe. We now know that UEFA Champions League as well will return after months of the international break as well. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean.